Back in 2008, Barack Obama was elected, and there was about 65% of non-Hispanic white Americans at the time of his election. Some of them didn't take it well, and that was the beginning of the MAGA movement. Fast forward to today, there are 58% of non-Hispanic white Americans living in the U.S. Their majority is falling. So the question isn't whether or not this shift is happening. It's definitely happening. The question is whether or not people will accept it with grace and curiosity, or they'll just go full-blown MAGA and start deporting people, making DEI illegal. Why is it that the Trump regime is against funding libraries and schools? Because the population is easier to control when they're uneducated. When people are uneducated, they're usually more scared of things that they don't understand. And when they're more scared, they reach for power and control. Authoritarianism doesn't just show up one night uninvited. It gets triggered. It gets activated by fear. Fear is the fuel. And Trump, he manufactured that fear. It's basically his personal brand, and that's how he ran his campaign. He said that immigrants are rapists, they're murderers, they're an existential threat to American culture. He never stopped his tirade on his hate for immigrants. And he wasn't alone in this. He also had Fox News and all the little Fox affiliates that ramped up his rhetoric and spread the hate. MAGA supporters, they're not the poorest people in the country. By and large, by demographic, they're not the poorest people. It's not fear of poverty or crime that drives the MAGA base. It's not those things that give them their fear. What studies have shown, people have taken surveys on this, is that what the MAGA supporters most fear is losing their status. They fear cultural and demographic change. The thought that their heritage, their American way of life might be slipping away. It's their identity and their hierarchy in the system that they're afraid of losing. That's the fear right there. And once that fear kicks in, authoritarianism starts up. It basically gives you a leader to follow, slams the doors on all the immigrants, and case closed. Good guys versus bad guys. Problem solved. Except for the part where nothing is actually solved. A shared sense of status loss is what binds the MAGA together. Status anxiety is a well-documented driver for political fear. At the core of the MAGA base are predominantly white men. And for a long time, white men, they were the CEOs, they were the bosses, they were the default setting in every boardroom. And over the course of the last 20 years or so, the women started to hold positions of power, just like men. And immigrants started to have their own platform, and their voices started to make a difference in the community. And slowly, these people who were normally in charge aren't in charge anymore. They're losing their grip on their status. And to some of them, it feels like a threat, a dethroning. They see a social hierarchy being rearranged, and instead of seeing opportunity in that, they are thinking that it's a loss to them. Not a material loss, but a symbolic loss. It's a cultural loss. And it's not about losing jobs, it's about losing status. So when Trump came along and said he's going to make America great again, what he was really talking about was putting these people back in power. It was a promise to restore the old order, to rewind the clock back to a place in time where their authority was unquestionable and could not be toppled no matter what. And this promise to make America great again, it doesn't have anything to do with actually making people's lives better. It's not about lifting people up or building new opportunities. He's not creating a better society for all, because that takes too much effort. What they're doing instead doesn't require them to improve your life in any way. You're not going to be wealthier, you're not going to be more secure, you won't be more educated, and you won't be healthier. All you need is for other people to be pushed down beneath you. And that's the magic trick. It's all about relative status. If marginalized groups stop rising to power, such as women and immigrants, any sort of minority, as long as they're able to be pushed down, then it feels like a win to them, even if their paycheck doesn't go up. MAGA isn't selling solutions, it's selling superiority. Not progress, but position. It tells people that you don't have to have more, but they just have to have less. As grim as that sounds, it's actually a deeply effective message for anybody who believes that equality is actually oppression in disguise. They resent social groups who are rising and inhabiting the same spaces that they used to dominate. Pushing down these communities, it's not progress. It's just a form of relief for these MAGA people. So they don't cheer for policy. What they cheer for is cruelty. Not because cruelty solves anything, but because it feels like revenge. Seeing marginalized groups being punished is like, to them, it's justice being served. A huge number of Trump's executive orders weren't about solving any problems. It was about cruelty. They were spectacles. They were demonstrations in dominance over the very groups that his MAGA base feels threatened by. Whenever Trump gets convicted or prosecuted for anything, his followers look at it as proof that Trump is a victim just like them, because he's getting targeted by the same people, by the same system, by the same elites. Trump is getting targeted and victimized just like his followers, and it makes his followers trust in him even more. So when Trump decides to have absolute power over our government and every possible facet of decision making and becomes immune to everything, his followers are elated and so happy because now one of them is above the system and now they are the true rulers of the law. So Trump supporters are okay with the authoritarianism regime. A lot of Trump supporters aren't actually white men. They are just men in general. They could be any color. In the 2024 election, for instance, when Kamala was running, a lot of people of color, they looked at Kamala as she should be put in her place because she's a woman in lower status than a man. So a lot of men, Latinos, black men, they all voted for Trump just so a woman wouldn't be elected president. A lot of women are also Trump supporters because they feel if they align themselves with a powerful patriarchal figure, it could protect their status in the hierarchy, even if it means siding with the system that ultimately disempowers them. Trump is a symptom of a much deeper disease, a disease that started way before him. He didn't create this movement, he emerged from it. What we're dealing with is a full-blown cultural and psychological phenomenon, a movement driven by people who feel displaced. So the solution isn't about resisting just Trump. MAGA is fueled by a psychological wound and not by political position. It's built on resentment and the feeling that others are rising above them. Until we understand that mindset, we're not going to be able to counteract it. Labeling MAGA people as monsters and narcissists, it's not going to help anything. It might feel satisfying, but it's not going to move us forward. What we need is a deeper understanding of the mindset of these people. And that's the first step toward any real healing.